I wanted a bigger engine, a 6-cylinder engine, or even a V8. Yeah, but something that would fit my budget as well. That's when got from the classified. I saw the XFR for sale. It was a Chandigarh car, and then that's when it happened. I bought the XFR.
So
I used to
you drive in Australia and end up buying a V8 Jag.
Exactly. So
the whole connection is this.
Yeah, absolutely. That was probably at that moment there was no sports cars in I think in the entire state, because nobody usually get, not because they did not have the money to buy, but nobody was actually bothered of buying a big capacity engine.
Right.
Nobody, even now in Kerala, people don't spend money on big capacity engines. They want point A to point B transport in luxury.
Yeah.
So that was a different way of thinking at that moment, and I got this XFR without test driving it. I used to watch a lot of Top Gear at that moment, and I saw Jeremy Clarkson's review of the XFR, and he said it's much, it may not be a scalpel like the BMW, but it is much of it's a better cruiser, and it's a powerhouse, and the engine has more character.
Okay, that's exactly what you wanted.
That's what exactly I felt after buying the car also. Like the power was relentless, and even you don't need an exhaust or anything to enjoy the sound inside the cabin. The supercharged V8 was something else.
Yeah, it whines. So this is the same engine that came in the XKR, yeah? The 5-liter supercharged V8.
But slightly detuned, I think. It was 500 and, if I remember right, it's around 500 horsepower.
Okay, and the XKR was like 560, I think.
Because they introduced the XFR. I had the first gen XFR, which had a slightly different headlight with a circular
headlight.
Notch. A circular notch on the headlight, straight one with a circular notch. That's the one I had. That had a 6-speed transmission. ZF 6-speed transmission. But it was nice. The transmission was nice. The shifts felt very mechanical. The steering was very disconnect. I've been driving BMWs. E60 steering was perfect for me. Probably the benchmark steering in probably all the cars I've owned so far was E60 steering. The Servotronic electromechanical unit. But the one preceding that, the 320D, the steering was very wooden. Very, very, very heavy. In fact, they revised the steering after I bought the car. They made it very light. So I had the heavy
second gen 320, the second gen E90.
The facelift 320D, but with the heavy steering I had.
Okay.
It was quite at slow speeds.
They shifted to electric after that.
They shifted to, but that lost the feel. This was like a unassisted steering. The 320D was too heavy. In fact, at low speeds it was horrible. But it had that mechanical feel. But I felt the sweet spot was the E60. Right. It was not too heavy, not too light, and it gave you enough feel from the front wheels.
Right.
But the Jaguar steering was a remote thing, like completely remote. You don't know anything about the front wheels. But the good thing about the Jaguar is the suspension was softly sprung. It goes tail out so fast, but you can hold it easier.
So at an angle, but holding,
at an angle, and you can hold long drifts on that car. Somehow you can catch that car easily. It is not as snappy as a BMW. That's what I felt.
Right.
And it has no tons of torque reserve. That V8 supercharged engine was a bomb. We used to eat up rear tires. The basic issues I faced with the XFR were the electronics. Because every day I had an error message on the dashboard, or I had some problem with the rotary controller. I had
it had a rotary gear selector, right?
So I had a problem that when I was driving along on the highway and come at a traffic stop, that rotary gear just goes inside and gets stuck. Then the car goes into neutral, and you have to switch off the car at the traffic signal, which is too embarrassing. And the Jaguar guys there in the service center couldn't diagnose what the problem was. Then I had problems with the electric seats. One day it would work, one day it would not work. The display screen, one day it started flashing, one day it will not play. It had a latency period so long that you never bothered keeping music inside the car. I had a Quicksilver exhaust at that time. in the car.
Okay.
So it was a great.
I'm not gonna say this has anything to do with it, but this is around when Range Rover started working with Jaguar. So
Yes. So that's the time. So that's why I've never picked a Jaguar or a Range Rover after that. I was so scared because every other week the car was at the workshop to diagnose something, and ultimately they couldn't fix any of my problems. And I had to sell the car. I wanted to get into something more reliable, and that's
you had
when
the 530 as well this time, right?
Yeah, 530 had kept all this time. Even so, 530 ownership started in 2010. It went up to 2014 or 2015.
Okay.
Jaguar, I kept it for 1.5 years. That's it.
Cool.
And then I E93 M3.
Okay.
The convertible.
What gearbox did it have?
It had a DCT gearbox. The E93 had a DCT, a dual clutch gearbox.
Okay.
So BMW was with SMG transmission till then.
Yeah.
They had introduced it in the E90 series M3s.
Yeah. The E46s were SMG. Yeah.
Even by today's standard, it's a fantastic gearbox. It has got that beautiful mechanical feel, and the NA engine had a superb throttle.
It just revved to heaven.
And the throttle response, you don't get in any of the turbocharged engines. The throttle response.
And I felt like the E92, when it came out, everyone was like, oh no, an MCU with a V8. But the linear power delivery that everyone loved in the 6 cylinders was still there. Like it wasn't lost at all, is what I think.
Yeah. Only thing, the suspension had become softer. They had set it up softer, more for grand touring, which I liked because I could do outstation trips with my family. It was very comfortable car. Even today, E90 series M3s are the ones to buy if you are trying to get into this sports car buying and ownership business. Ownership. So I think E90 series, that was an amazing 4.5 years that I had the car. It was probably the best sports car I've owned in my life, to be honest, till we got into the Porsches.
Okay. Yeah. So
open top, E90, beautiful V8.
Yeah. So did you feel anything with the E90? Like the convertible, was it playing a major role in the driving experience? Or?
See, the torsional rigidity, of course, you can get to know because when you go through bad roads, you get scuttle shake. And you get a lot of vibration from the roof because it was a three-piece roof mechanism.
Yeah, I remember.
And the only issue that annoyed me is periodically I had to lubricate the roof, change the rubber beadings, because otherwise this noise will drive me mad. I am somebody who cannot tolerate any kind of rattles in my car. Every small sound I'll pick. So when I drive now, my wife, I'll tell her what is the sound that is coming from there. So she says, that's okay. That's a water bottle. So I'm very paranoid about sounds coming from inside the car. So that used to drive me mad.
Okay.
But the car was much softer than the coupe. And it's more fun on the limit. So the limits can be explored by a lesser than professional driver on the E93 because it's a softer setup.
Okay, than the E92.
E92 was a very sharp car. And
the reason we're talking about the E92 is because Doctor also owned one of those.
Yeah, so that's probably the next car that I'd owned, the E92.
So what caused the shift?
E92, E93, in fact, met with an accident. In fact, one of my friends were driving in the rain, and that was a very unfortunate incident. Yeah. So he tried to shift it at the red line, and the car just spun on us. And fortunately,
because it lost power.
Yeah, it spun, and it was a wet surface, and it met with an accident. Then BMW, I had sent the car back to BMW. It was there for months. They couldn't do a proper job. And car had a lot of niggles after that. So I didn't want to continue repairing, again fixing, repairing. I wanted to abort that cycle, so I got rid of it. And at that time, a good E92 came in the classifieds. Somebody told me there's a good E92, and it was a manual transmission. So it's a complete change in experience. It was a stick shift.
6-speed manual M3 in India.
Yeah.
What else could a person want?
I think there are only a handful of manual M3s in India.
I think there's 3 or 4.
Yeah, just 3 or 4. So that's when I again sold my I sold my E60 during that period when I was picking up probably a year before I sold my E93, I had sold my E60 and got an F10 M5. So before I sold my E93, I had an F10 M5.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, 2013-14, I sold my E60
so you had a
and
3
got
and
an
a
F10.
5. You always had that 3 5 thing going.
Yeah. So I had a 3. I had a convertible M3 and the F10 M5 together.
Okay. And the M5? Not your type of car.
M5 was a hero car for me. I always wanted to get an E60 M5. We say you should never meet our heroes. First time I drove it, I was bitterly disappointed because transmission was so slow. But I loved the engine. I loved the intake roar. But most of the cars were, had so many problems because of this Vanos tech and the transmission. Transmission had a lot of issues, so I didn't want to get it. I didn't want to get into all that after what had happened to my E93. So that's why I thought I'll pick up the newer version. The problem I thought with the F10 was it was very, one thing, the steering was wooden. You didn't have it didn't feel like a BMW when you drive it. It was supposed to be a family sport, super saloon, but it did not have the compliance of a Jaguar XF. Jaguar was super for long distance cruising. This was a very busy ride. Even in the comfort mode, it had a very busy ride. And when you wanted to put down power, it was quite difficult because the car had serious traction issues. Even with at that moment, I think I had Pilot Super Sport tires on those that M5. And even then, the rear used to squirm. The moment you go full throttle, the rear used to squirm badly.
I remember sitting in these third gear traction light is just blinking forever.
And that's also because the DCT was very jerky. The shifting gave you a jolt after each shift. That mechanical feel I liked, but the problem is that again this already had a very minimal traction. The car used to step out. And if you wanted to control it on a drift also, it was impossible, nearly impossible. Probably one of the few cars I spun trying to do a drift was the F10. It was a handful. So I spoke to, at that time I knew Aditya. So I used to call him and ask, what is happening?
Aditya right?
So what is happening? This thing, is it like that or it's me? So he said, I spun it multiple times. It's horrible. You can't hold a drift in it's a big pain to hold a drift in a F10 M5. I've seen BMW drivers do it and they struggle at it. So we had went for there was a BMW driving event, I think in 2012. When a couple of instructors, they were struggling to, hold the car sideways. It is not easy at all. It is and so for us amateur drivers, it's definitely no. I used to never switch off the traction control in that car. So the ride, the overall purpose for which the car was intended was not served. Lost because it felt like a behemoth. It was around almost 2 tons. So it didn't connect with me at all, that car. I had an exhaust and all on the car, but that's about it. I didn't do anything much on the car. I sold it after a year.
Okay.
That's when I got the GTR.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe because it really motivates us to shoot more content, edit more videos, and just create more things for you guys to watch. And if you guys have any ideas related to what we should shoot next, or if you guys have any interesting car stories or something like that, feel free to reach out to us, maybe through the comment section below or even DM us on Instagram. So thank you.